I think there's always been that time in our lives where we've bought a blaster, and then the next year, even before that sometimes, the exact same blaster comes out in a slightly different shape. And this can continue for years upon years. And sometimes you're tempted to buy those newer blasters even though you already have the one you bought previously that is exactly the same, because the new one might have slightly better ergonomics or is in a shape that's more appealing to you. But what if you could buy one blaster that has essentially endless possibilities? That is what the KNex CyberX line is all about. You're not buying just one blaster. You're buying several different blasters, and even more than that, because this is based off of the KNex building system. Which means not only are you capable of combining this with every other blaster in the KNex CyberX line, you're able to combine it with practically every single KNex part ever made. Which means there's a whole new world with KNex CyberX that isn't just swapping out pieces and putting them in different places. Nuh-uh. Which is why I'm here and why KNex has sponsored this video. Not only did they want me to take a crack at building my own completely custom blaster using the parts and pieces they already sent me from the CyberX line, but to encourage you to pick up your own CyberX blaster kit and build your own completely unique model. I've distilled CyberX into 4 categories, kind of like steps that you need to follow, building points that need to be followed to build a complete KNex blaster. This is the core. This is the starting piece, the heart of the blaster that everything else revolves around. In this case, it's the electronic flywheel core from the Crossover Legacy. Really simple to understand what we got going on right here. We've got a barrel, completely superficial, but is there. We have the actual flywheels themselves. That's what shoots your darts out. We've got the magwell right here, which holds your darts. And then we've got the power, in this case, the form of 3 AA batteries. And last but not least, we've got our mechanism for firing. Dart has to leave the magazine into the flywheels to be shot out the barrel, and this little piece is actually the entire point of that. Well, if I remove that one right here, it's just this right here. That gets pushed forward, which pushes a dart into the flywheels. The flywheels then fling the dart out of the barrel. The second part is your ergonomics, or your grip. There's really only one standard grip in the CyberX line, and this is not a required part, but it is something you have to think about when building a blaster. There's a lot of different ways that this grip could be used. It could be, you know, where a grip should be, at the back of the blaster. It could be up the front. You could make a bullpup blaster with all the good stuff back here. It could be a side-mounted grip, which would be extra super cool. But of course, you don't have to use this one. You could build your own grip in whatever shape you want out of existing KNex pieces. KNex just makes it a little bit easy for you. But once you have the base idea of kind of how your blaster is going to work, you need a trigger system. We know how the trigger works in the Crossover Legacy flywheel core, which I'm surprised I have not seen an actual good mod on this core yet, because it's literally a portable flywheel cage. There's a lot of mod potential in this one little part. In this case, we've got the back end of one of the Crossover Legacy blaster builds. This orange piece right here is a little ergonomic trigger stop right there, and yep, that actuates your trigger. You can see there's a rubber band in there that when I pull this, pushes this rod forward because of leverage, which pushes on this piece, which pushes a dart into your flywheels and fires your blaster. And of course, there are many different ways to have your blaster actually fire. Perhaps even cooler is the modification of the CryptoQuake, an alternative build that uses a lever, which looks extremely goofy. However, it actually works extremely well and is super fun and kind of combines a lot of the things we've already talked about. You've got the core, you've got the grip, it doesn't necessarily have a trigger, and then you've got a custom-made grip that actuates the blaster and makes it fire. And of course, this build right here encompasses the final thing you need to build anything in the KNex blaster system. You need some kind of structure. And that is the part that is most forgiving, because you can do as little or as much as you could possibly want with whatever pieces you have. Yes, once you figured out kind of how you want your blaster to go together, that's when you can start messing with the structure, and really these things can be either as weak or as strong as you want them to be. See, one of the easiest ways to build structure into a KNex system is actually building it in kind of a triangular configuration, like polygons. Lots of those little polygons together increases the strength and increases the detail on your blaster. And KNex pieces can be put together in so many different freaking ways. It's actually kind of ridiculous. With all these things combined, you've got yourself a functional foam dart blaster that works just as good as most of its competitors out there, and on top of that, has plenty of room to go. But make no mistake, the KNex CyberX line is not just a blaster system. It's also a building toy. Building the blaster is half the fun of actually being able to play with your blaster. So what do I want to build? Well, I want to build something that combines an aspect of every single one of the KNex blasters I have, all 4 of them. I want to use all 4 cores, all 4 grips, have it all in one cohesive package that fires all of them really easily. I should note that I'm not exactly proficient at KNex, and to even get anywhere in this video, I had 2 meetings with a designer from KNex, and I learned quite a bit. So I'm going to take parts from the Giga Blast, the Neo Strike, of course the Crypto Crank, and the Crossover Legacy, and combine all of this into one functional Voltron of a blaster. And this is what I came up with. Let me show you its features. So unfortunately, I didn't use as much of the Neo Strike as I wanted to, because this was already kind of hard to get along as is. But I do have both of the cores for the Crypto Crank and the Crossover Legacy with their matching kind of paneling things right there. I do have the dart holders from the Neo Strike, and I've got some tubing from the Neo Strike. The Giga Blast down here, and it does have a trigger, so we have a little stealthy undermounted secondary. And it worked off camera, so it better work on camera. I'm a little worried about this. Power on. There we go. Of course, we've got our little secondary shot that goes right between the blasters, and then added to that, we've got dart holders on the side. I'm sure you can do so much better than what I've got here, but I'm happy this thing at least functions. As you can see, there's a lot of triangulation on this blaster to try to reinforce every part of the body as much as I can, because these front cores are pretty heavy, but there's a lot of crisscrossing pieces in there that give it a pretty stout foundation. And overall, it does work, and I'm sure I could give this to somebody else who grew up with KNex or somebody who's really into KNex, and they could do far better than this, but at least I got my flywheel shotgun. Of course, the biggest struggle in getting all of this to work together was the trigger. They're relatively simple pieces, but with my understanding of KNex and how much I could actually pull off, it was a lot of work to get that trigger to work. And even then, sometimes it doesn't. It really does not like the big Adventure Force waffle head darts, which is a shame. And I tried just about everything to try to stiffen up this trigger. But had I had something like this when I was a kid, things would be relatively different. And really, I think the biggest thing I want to see from something like this is I think it would be absolutely amazing to have a war where you just have a bunch of these pieces and you have like an hour to build your blaster and then you gotta field it. And that could be a video if there's ever a part 3 to this. There are a million different ways to go about doing what I've done here. This is just what I landed on. And that leads me right into where I want to see what other people can come up with, because there is so much potential in this that I've only barely scratched the surface. Like I said, if you have other KNex sets, there's endless amount of KNex pieces out there, sets, themes, all sorts. I found this at my local Goodwill recently. I didn't even know Titanfall KNex was a thing. And now I have to hunt down the rest of the sets. And that is just one example of some kind of themed set that I could legitimately use parts and pieces from on something like this, and the possibilities are truly endless, and I legitimately want to see what people can do, because man, I have absolutely no talent for this, and look what I can do. Special thanks to KNex for sponsoring this video. Of course, you can check down in the description below where you can pick up your own CyberX blasters. And of course, don't forget to tag me on Instagram and YouTube so I can see what you can build.